Okay, today I want to talk about how mediumship is super subtle. If you are a medium, you already know that. If you're not, it is nothing like you see in movies and television. These big club you over the head moments where, you see ghosts walking into the room or hear disembodied voices booming in the air. It's just nothing like that. It's very, very subtle. So this video was a really good exercise for me, I discovered while putting it together, because it really forced me to think about exactly how I get the information that I get. So typically, the first thing that I'm aware of when I connect with someone in spirit is their gender. I know if it's a man or a woman. But I was thinking, well, how do I explain that? Like, how do you know? How do I know if it's a man or a woman? How do I know that? And I was going to say, you can feel like men feel different than women. But really, it's how I respond in normal everyday life. How I respond in the presence of men and how I respond in the presence of women is different. And it's that feeling of, and it's how I'm responding inside that I know, oh, I'm connected with someone and it's a man, or I'm connected with someone and it's a woman. That's how I know. It's that feeling inside myself and how I engage with people in my everyday life. Kind of similarly, I get age, like how I feel in the presence of people old enough to be my grandparents is different than how I feel in the presence of children, for example. And I do get age, the age of whoever I'm connected to, relative to my own. So, and how I get that is typically, if they're senior citizens, it feel like if there's a line between my hands, that's my life. If it's a senior citizen, it feels like there's more of them. If it's a child, it feels like there's a lot less of them. Even if it's a young adult, it feels like there's a little bit less of them than there is of me. I get their age relative to my own. So I don't often get specific ages, and I know mediums who do that. They'll say, she was 78 when she died, and they're right. But I do very clearly get generally if they're really old, like in their 90s or just maybe in their 60s or 30s or childhood, whatever. And then I've talked about in several videos how I will feel swayed or pulled to the left or to the right. And for me, when I'm getting information on the left, it's mother's side of the family, whoever I'm connected with. On the right is father's side. But when that first started to happen, when I first started to learn and engage in mediumship, so you can't see, but there's a chair off to my left and there's a table off to my right. And so something about the chair, for example, I would be reading people and something about this chair in this example or something on my left would just seem more interesting or highlighted in some way compared to the rest of the room. And so I'd think, well, what? A chair is not evidential. Like everybody has a chair. So why is that pulling my attention? And eventually I realized it was just pulling my attention to the left or to the right. And when it was to the left, people would say, oh, that's my mom's mom, or that's my mother. And when it was to the right, they'd say, that's dad or dad's brother, whoever. So that pulling left or right, now that still happens, but I'll also just sort of feel swayed, gently swayed one direction or the other. And that's how I can tell that. And if I'm not pulled in either direction, or if I actually feel things in both, that's usually not a relative. It's a friend or an acquaintance of some kind. So that is mediumship. It's just the medium narrating what they're feeling, narrating what they're remembering, what they're experiencing. So the other thing that happens for me is if I start getting references to a specific relationship, a specific person in my life that's a relationship, like if I'm getting references to my dad or to my mom's mom, then typically who I'm connected with is your dad or your mom's mom, depending on the gender. Especially if in my head I can see them doing things that I never saw my own loved one do. For example, my mom's mom was not at all athletic, as far as I know, and so if I were to see my mom's mom playing tennis, that's usually a really strong connection where someone will say, oh yeah, my mom's mom, my grandma used to play tennis every week. When I see them doing something I never knew them to engage in, they reference a person that I know, and I see that person engaging behavior that I never saw them do, or saying things I never heard them say, that's always been 100% accurate information. So they also, for me, I just have to sit and be quiet and let them play on my memories. So not that long ago, I was remembering when I was a kid, I knew an adult who had been in a really bad car accident and was nearly decapitated in that accident, but wasn't. And it was a close call. And then, so they were showing me that and Nearly Headless Nick from the Harry Potter movies and books. And so I knew to talk about extreme head trauma, not just a bump, but like trauma to the head. And that had happened to the person that I was connected with. They weren't decapitated, but they had an extreme head injury. So, and that's come up once before for me as a reference for extreme head injury. So it's sort of it's not really symbols. It's just things that remind me or of something or get me to talk about certain subjects. So when I have seen professional mediums say things like, "I'm seeing a man next to you," or "I see this woman standing behind you," and I don't know what they're thinking when they say that. But when I say that, I do see people in the room with me, but I see them in my mind's eye. It's in my imagination in the same way that you'd look at a room and think about redecorating it or moving furniture. That's how I see people in my mind's eye. So when I say I'm seeing someone, it's in my head. When I say I'm hearing, fill in the blank, sometimes I do actually hear things shouted at a distance with my ears. The way you would hear someone inside your house if they were out on the sidewalk shouting, it's kind of like that. But that's rare. Usually when I say I'm hearing Glenn Miller music, really I'm getting a very strong auditory memory of specific music. Or sometimes also I'll say I'm hearing the word whatever, and really I'm feeling, like if you've ever done creative writing and you're looking for just the right word or just the right way to say something, that's how it feels. And so more often than saying I hear something, I'll say I want to say words to the effect, and then I'll say that. But it's very, very subtle, right? So if you are wondering if you are a medium, or if you are, you know you're a medium and you're developing that, do not look for big club you over the head moments of, seeing people the way you're seeing the computer right now, or hearing people the way you hear music on the radio. It's not like that. I don't know anyone. I know a lot of mediums. I don't know anyone that it's like that for. It's just very subtle feelings, impressions, memories that you talk about, that you vocalize. So that's that. Next week, I'm going to talk about the fact that once you are a medium, you are always a medium. It never goes away. And I've heard people say, oh, it sort of faded out for me, or I can't do it anymore, or I haven't been getting things lately. And what I think is happening is that it's evolving, not going away. So I'm going to talk about that in the next video. And until then, thank you for watching this one, and leave your questions or comments below, and see you next time.